Welcome back into Ben Talks Utah Hockey. I'm Ben, your host for the podcast regarding all things Utah Hockey Club. From game previews and post-game breakdowns to player highlights, stats, and storylines, this podcast is your ultimate guide for Utah's newest hockey team. We'll dive into the big moments, the key plays, and the rising stars who are putting Utah Hockey Club on the map. Whether you're a lifelong hockey fan, a newcomer to the sport, or you're just curious about Utah's growing hockey community, this is the place to be. So lace up your skates, grab your stick, and join me as we hit the ice and talk all things Utah Hockey Club. All right, and with that, we're going to get into a little two-game preview tonight. We've got Utah Hockey Club taking on the Seattle Kraken in Seattle tomorrow night on the 30th, and then we've also got Utah taking on the Edmonton Oilers the following night in a back-to-back game on New Year's Eve. So starting off, we're going to get into that Kraken game first. The Kraken are coming into the matchup with a 16, 19, and 2 record. And in their previous 10 games, they're 3, 6, and 1. And most recently coming off of an overtime win versus the Vancouver Canucks in a 5-4 victory on the 28th. And as of this recording, the betting odds are not out yet, but I would assume this one will be a tough one to pick as both teams are coming in with similar records. The Seattle Kraken, their goal leaders are Jared McCann with 12, Oliver Bjorkstrand with 11, and Jaden Schwartz with 11. Chandler Stevenson is the assist leader with 20 assists, and McCann just right behind him at 15, Bjorkstrand with 14. In net, we will either see Joey Decord or Philip Grubauer. Decord has a 2.51 goal against average and a .912 save percentage with a 12, 9, and 2 record. He's their number one goaltender. And Grubauer is a little worse on the season with a 3.66 goal against average and an .873 save percentage and a 4, 10, and 0 record. So I'm going to assume that Decord's probably going to get the start. I'm not sure where they're at in their rotation right now, but I would lean towards Decord. Grubauer has that sub 900 save percentage, and for an NHL goaltender, you really like to see their save percentage above 900. That's kind of the mark of a good goaltender, and normally you want your number one guy to have that above 900 save percentage. So stopping at least 9 out of every 10 pucks. So gives your team the best chance to win. The Kraken recently acquired Capo Caco from the New York Rangers as they seem to be offloading guys at a decent clip this season as they've been underperforming to the Rangers standards. Caco, he's in his 5th year, and he's got a total of 15 points this season. Not really a huge goal scorer and point getter, but still a young guy, and we'll see if the Kraken can if he has a better season with the Kraken finishing this season. So look for Seattle to try to get solid goaltending against Utah as they will need to put up a good game. And because Utah has 7 straight road wins, and even though they've fallen in their previous home games and are on a 2-game skid, they've been really good on the road this year. So again, you'd like to see Utah play a little bit better in the Delta Center and get some points there, but nevertheless, they're pretty scrappy on the road. Seattle is also a scrappy team. They don't really have a superstar player, so to speak. So we'll see if Utah can turn their season around as we head into the new year. Not saying they're having a bad season. They're having a decent season. But going into the new year, as we're kind of getting into the dog days of winter here, you'd like to see them get some points here on these road games. So that's a little preview on the Kraken game. On the next night, they're taking on the Edmonton Oilers in the second night of a back-to-back. The Oilers, they're coming into the matchup with a 21, 11, and 3 record. sitting at second place in the Pacific Division of the Western Conference. They're 8-1-1 in their last 10, and they do play on Sunday versus the Ducks. So at the time of this recording, that record could change. But they're playing great hockey coming towards the midpoint of the season, most recently coming off of an overtime loss to the LA Kings in a one-goal game. So their two main guys are Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. They lead the offensive charge for Edmonton. Draisaitl has 52 points. He's got 24 goals, 28 assists, and a plus-minus rating of plus 19. Really good player, and he will be for years to come. And on the other side of things, in that two-headed monster, they've got McDavid, who has 15 goals, 34 assists for 49 points, and a plus-minus rating of plus 12. So they're both well above that goal per game average, and it's not a new story. These two have been lighting the lamp for the past few years for Edmonton, and yeah, we'll see if Utah can contain those guys when they play. Edmonton's goaltenders are Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard. Skinner is their number one guy, coming in with a 13-8-2 record with a 2.85 goals against average and a .895 save percentage. Pickard has an 8-3-0 record, a 2.38 goal against average, and a .901 save percentage. So out of the two, Pickard has the better record, even though he's their second guy. He's got that just slightly above 900 save percentage, and a little bit better record in terms of statistics. But Skinner's been their guy, and I would assume I don't know who's going to get the start, but most teams, it seems like they're going to want to put their number one guy in. So I don't know where they're at in their goalie rotation either. But look for Edmonton to try to get some solid goaltending. I honestly, I think that's the story in most games. Is your goaltender going to play well? Because we know that Edmonton is going to put up a ton of shots. Same with Utah, especially in that last game versus Colorado. They were step in step with Colorado in the shot department, even leading at one point. I believe, if I'm remembering my numbers right, Colorado had 37 shots and Utah had 35. So well above that 30. You kind of want to, if your team's having a good offensive night, I think that 25 to 30 shots is kind of like your baseline of like, okay, they're getting a bunch of shots. So you'd like to see Utah continue that trend of putting up a ton of shots. And coming into this game, we know that Edmonton they've got some high flyers and they're going to be attacking the net. So like I said, I'm unsure who we're going to see in the net for both of these games. I would assume Stauber is going to get one of these starts on the back-to-back, and not sure who he's going to go against. He might go against Seattle, honestly, if they think they're going to need Vejmelka for that Edmonton game. Maybe get him a little bit of rest in the days that have led up to it. And so, I mean, after last night, he had a pretty good showing, only letting in 2 goals. So we'll see if they give Stauber a start here versus the Kraken. They might. Again, I'm not in Andre Turney's head, so I'm not exactly sure who's going to get that start. But look for Stauber to get one of the starts. Not sure which game, but the story of Edmonton. They drive their entire offense through their 2 workhorses in Draisaitl and McDavid. They're tough to stop, and they've been a dynamic duo for some time now. Like I said, this is not old news, and they're looking to push for a Stanley Cup final again this year. They're poised in a playoff position, sitting in that second place spot in the Pacific, and I think if Utah can shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, they stand a good chance to win. Edmonton does have some other point getters and some kind of role player type guys that can get goals when needed. But for the most part, if you shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, you stand a good chance to win. Their goaltending hasn't been on fire as of late. In their last 10 games, 6 of them have been 1-goal games. They do have a pretty good record, 8-1-1 over the last 10, but 24 goals given up in the last 10 games by their goaltending, with a 2.4 average per game. So basically, those are kind of like Vamelka numbers. He's sitting at just a little bit over 2 goals a game averaged. And yeah, I think it's going to be a battle of goaltending. And another thing, staying out of the box versus Edmonton. Their power play can be lethal, especially when they get McDavid and Draisaitl out there together on that power play. With Bouchard, he's got a lethal shot from the point, so look for him to kind of get things going on that power play. So staying out of the box is going to be crucial. Other than that, we're getting into some exciting hockey matchups before the new year. We'll see if Utah can extend their road streak and kind of right the ship, get some goals to fall, and get back into the win column. We'll see. My thing with Utah is, can they just string together a complete 60 minutes? Can they do that? And recently, we have not we really haven't seen them do that. In the last 2 games, they haven't put together a full 60 minutes. They play 45 minutes of that really well, and then there's 10-15 minutes of that 60 that they look like they take a nap. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. They got to put together, if they want to get into the playoffs this year, they want to sneak into that wild card position. I think that's the most likely scenario. If they do get into the playoffs this year, it's going to be in the wild card spot. If they want to get there, they've got to put together 60 minutes. They got to do the little things right, keep it simple, do the little things right, and get some goals to fall. That's been a huge thing in these last couple of games. Their goal scorers, they've been finding chances, just not finding the back of the net. So we'll see. But especially on the second game versus Edmonton in the back-to-back, I worry that with Edmonton being another team that plays with a ton of speed and power with their first line, their first and second lines, hopefully Utah can come in not too tired, let's just say. Hopefully in the game versus the Kraken, they can get ahead early, roll their 4 lines, give guys a little bit more even spread of ice time. That way, guys aren't too gassed after they get off the plane in Edmonton and have to go again the next night. So that'll be my main that would be my main concern. And yeah, just putting together a full game versus both of these 2 teams coming up. So we will see. But that's probably going to do it for tonight. Just a short little intro to these next 2 games. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Talks Utah Hockey, and we'll see you on the next one.